More on that breaking news on Congressman Trent Franks announcing that he's retiring amid a probe by the House Ethics Committee. Joining me now to discuss Shelby, Holliday, and Bob Cusack. Shelby, I'll start with you. I'm not sure if you heard part of his statement from Trent Franks, but essentially he talks in the final paragraph about the midst of the current cultural and media climate. And he's deeply convinced that he would be unable to complete a fair House ethics investigation before distorted and sensationalized versions of his story would put him and his family, his staff, and his noble colleagues through all kinds of different pains and agony. Not unlike the message we got from Al Franken today as well. What are your thoughts?
Right. So on one hand, you have both of these lawmakers saying this ethics investigation would taint my ability to represent the people I'm supposed to represent. So in one way, that's a noble thing. You're there to represent the people who elected you. If you can't do that effectively, it might be time to go. On the other hand, there's a lot of controversy right now over what constitutes sexual harassment and behavior that would force you out or would pressure you to resign. And as Al Franken said today, you also have a Senate candidate who's accused of touching inappropriately young women the age of 14, and he's staying in the race. So there is sort of this juggle right now of how far is too far and what means you shouldn't be in Congress. And the last point I would make is that Congress doesn't have an HR department. They can't just fire people like we've seen companies do. And so it does rest largely on these congressmen and the pressure that Congress has been putting on them to step down.
I mean, Bob, obviously this movement has been long coming, and it's an amazing, beautiful movement that hopefully will right wrongs, not just from the past, but set the stage for a better work environment for everybody. By the same token, you have some rumblings out there about people who say, well, that's not who I am. Al Franken saying that's not the person that he is, and yet he's feeling like at this stage of the game, in the heat of it all, that it's better for him to bow out. And now, of course, Trent Franks saying the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's just a matter, I mean, how many members of Congress are going to have to resign for this? And I think in the past, the accusers were not believed. But there's a danger here of due process. And whether it's members of Congress or people in various industries, I think in this social media 24/7, they feel like they can't get due process on it. So it's a matter of fairness. You want to have a workplace that is fair and just and not make people feel uncomfortable. The problem with the House Ethics Committee is that it looks after its members, and the process on Capitol Hill on sexual harassment is terrible because it favors the member of Congress way over the person making the accusations. That needs to be changed.
Right. Of course, the Accountability Act, I think, will be changed, but because of that, certainly they're not going to make any mistakes, I think, and with the glare of the heat of the public watching, any ethics investigations from here on out would have to be above board.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a lot of pressure and there's a lot of eyeballs, and I would say that so far we've seen some lawmakers who deny claims outright, even with pretty compelling evidence. They're staying in the game. And so I'm curious to see how that changes, or if the Senate would move to expel Roy Moore, for example, like they've threatened.
I don't think so. I mean, well,
that doesn't seem to be a sort of standard across the board.
McConnell has certainly changed his tune on that as well. And now a lot of people are saying let the voters of Alabama be the arbiters of all of that. Guys, thank you very much.